Have you ever noticed that some children seem unusually focused, calm, and thoughtful for their age? Not because they're naturally gifted, not because they're pushed harder, and definitely not because they're spending more time with educational apps. In fact, many of the parents raising highly capable children share one surprisingly simple habit. It takes just 3 seconds. Before they react, correct, answer, or solve a problem for their child, they pause. Just 3 seconds. Now, that might sound insignificant, but according to child development experts, those few seconds can completely change how a child's brain learns to think, reason, and solve problems independently. And here's the surprising part. This habit has deep roots in Russian parenting philosophy, where raising an intelligent child isn't about creating a genius, it's about creating a thinker. Today, we'll explore the fascinating Russian parenting principle behind the 3-second pause, why it may help children develop stronger cognitive skills, and how you can start using it at home without becoming a strict or demanding parent. Because sometimes the smartest thing a parent can do is nothing at all. Before we talk about the pause itself, we need to understand where this idea comes from. Many Western parenting approaches focus on being highly responsive. A child struggles, and we naturally jump in to help. A child asks a question, and we immediately provide the answer. There's nothing wrong with that. But traditional Russian parenting developed from a slightly different belief. The goal wasn't simply to make children feel successful. The goal was to help them become capable. A key concept often discussed in Russian family culture is vospitanie, pronounced vospitanie. Unlike the English word parenting, vospitanie refers to the long-term shaping of a child's character, judgment, and inner strength. The question Russian parents often ask is not, how can I solve this problem for my child? Instead, they ask, how can I help my child learn to solve this problem themselves? That small shift changes everything. According to Russian child psychologist Lyudmila Petranovskaya, children develop confidence not when adults constantly rescue them, but when they experience manageable challenges and discover that they can overcome them. Here's a simple example. Imagine a 6-year-old trying to tie their shoes. Many parents see the struggle and immediately step in. The Russian approach often looks different. The parent watches, waits, offers encouragement, and allows the child a little extra time to think. At first glance, it appears the parent is doing less. In reality, they're helping the child's brain do more. Now, this doesn't mean ignoring children or withholding support. That's a common misunderstanding. The goal is not distance. The goal is trust. Trust that your child is more capable than they appear. And modern developmental research increasingly supports this idea. Children learn more deeply when they're given opportunities to think, struggle briefly, and reach solutions themselves rather than receiving immediate answers. Here's what most parents never realize. The 3-second pause isn't really about waiting. It's about creating a tiny space where learning can happen. And once you understand that, everything changes. So what makes the 3-second pause so powerful? It isn't magic. It's built on 3 parenting principles that have been emphasized for generations in Russian family culture and are increasingly supported by modern child development research. At the heart of Russian parenting is a surprisingly simple belief: children can do more than adults think. Many parents underestimate what their children are capable of because helping feels faster, easier, and kinder. But Russian parents often view small struggles differently. If a 4-year-old is trying to zip a coat, carry groceries, or organize toys, the adult may resist stepping in immediately. Why? Because capability grows through practice, not instruction alone. Modern psychology calls this desirable difficulty. When children work through manageable challenges, their brains create stronger learning pathways. The effort itself becomes part of the lesson. Here's what Russian parents often do. A child says, "I can't do it." Instead of immediately taking over, the parent might respond, "Try one more time." Or, "What do you think might work?" Now compare that with what many parents naturally do. The child struggles. The parent solves. The task gets completed faster. But the learning opportunity disappears. The 3-second pause creates space for that opportunity. It communicates a powerful message: "I believe you can figure this out." And children often rise to that expectation. Here's something that surprises many people. The pause isn't only for children. It's for parents, too. Traditional Russian parenting places a strong emphasis on calm authority. Not louder authority. Not stricter authority. Calmer authority. When a child spills juice, forgets homework, or has a minor emotional outburst, the immediate reaction matters. Most of us react automatically. That's human nature. But the 3-second pause interrupts that automatic response. Instead of reacting emotionally, parents create a brief moment to choose their response deliberately. This accomplishes 2 important things. First, it reduces unnecessary conflict. Second, it models emotional regulation. Children learn far more from what parents demonstrate than from what they explain. Think about it. If a parent becomes frustrated every time something goes wrong, children learn frustration. If a parent pauses, assesses, and responds calmly, children learn self-control. Children borrow your calm before they develop their own. This is one reason many Russian parenting experts emphasize presence over constant correction. A calm parent becomes a child's emotional anchor, and those 3 seconds often make the difference. Here's what most parents get wrong. They believe intelligence is mainly about information. But intelligence is also about self-regulation, the ability to pause, think, and choose. The very behavior parents model through this habit. Now we arrive at the most powerful principle of all. The pause creates curiosity. When a child asks a question, many adults immediately provide the answer. Again, that's normal. But Russian educational traditions have long emphasized guided thinking rather than instant instruction. Instead of answering immediately, a parent may pause and ask, "What do you think? Why do you think that happened? How could we find out?" These simple questions activate the child's brain in a completely different way. Instead of receiving information, the child begins searching for it. Instead of memorizing, they start reasoning. And reasoning is one of the foundations of higher-level thinking. Imagine a 7-year-old asking, "Why is the moon following our car?" The quick answer is easy. But after a 3-second pause, a parent might ask, "What do you notice about the moon when we turn?" Suddenly, the child becomes an investigator rather than a listener. Research consistently shows that active problem-solving strengthens memory, understanding, and cognitive flexibility. In other words, children learn better when their brains are doing the work. This doesn't mean parents should never answer questions. Of course they should. The goal is balance. The goal is giving children enough space to think before we provide solutions. And that's the hidden power of the 3-second pause. It transforms everyday moments into opportunities for growth. Not through pressure, not through perfection, but through trust, patience, and thoughtful guidance. So how do you actually use the 3-second pause in everyday life? The good news is that you don't need to completely change your parenting style. You don't need to become a Russian parent. You simply need to create small opportunities for your child's brain to work a little harder. The next time your child struggles with a simple task, resist the urge to jump in immediately. Silently count. 1, 2, 3, then observe what happens. A surprising number of children solve the problem on their own when given just a few extra seconds. For toddlers and preschoolers, use this with dressing, cleaning up toys, or simple problem-solving activities. For older children, use it during homework, chores, or decision-making situations. The goal isn't pressure. it's confidence. Many parents notice increased independence within just a few days. The next step feels strange at first. When your child asks something, pause briefly before responding. Then try asking a question back. Instead of saying, "Here's how it works," try asking, "What do you think?" or "What's your best guess?" For younger children, keep questions simple. For older children, encourage deeper reasoning. This doesn't mean turning every conversation into a quiz. It simply means inviting your child to think first. Over time, children become more confident, expressing ideas and solving problems independently. The next time your child spills something, argues with a sibling, or makes a mistake, pause for 3 seconds before responding. Those 3 seconds help separate reaction from response. You may discover that the situation isn't as serious as it first appeared. You may choose a calmer approach. And your child receives guidance instead of emotional overflow. Many families report fewer power struggles and more productive conversations after practicing this habit. Finally, celebrate effort, not just results. Russian parenting traditions often place strong emphasis on persistence. The message isn't, "You're amazing because you succeeded." The message is, "You're growing because you kept trying." When your child works through a challenge, acknowledge the process. Say things like, "I noticed how hard you worked. You didn't give up." That was creative thinking. Children begin valuing effort, learning, and resilience rather than immediate perfection. Over time, they become less afraid of mistakes and more willing to tackle difficult challenges. Here's the important thing to remember. You don't need to implement everything tomorrow. Start with one small change. Practice it consistently for a week. Then, build from there. Because lasting change rarely comes from dramatic transformations. It comes from small habits repeated over time. And sometimes, one of the smallest habits creates the biggest difference. As we wrap up, remember this. The 3-second pause isn't about raising little geniuses. And it certainly isn't about becoming a strict Russian parent. It's about something much more powerful. It's about trusting your child's ability to think, to struggle, to learn, and ultimately, to grow. One of the most beautiful lessons from the Russian idea of vоспитание is that children develop strength when adults believe in their potential before they fully see it themselves. That belief shows up in small moments. A moment when you don't rush to help. A moment when you choose a question instead of an answer. A moment when you pause before reacting. Those moments may seem tiny, but over months and years, they help shape how children approach challenges, mistakes, and opportunities. And perhaps that's the real secret. The goal isn't to create a child with a higher IQ score. The goal is to help raise a child who is curious, resilient, confident, and capable of thinking independently. Which of these habits do you think would be hardest to practice in your home? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy learning science-backed parenting insights from cultures around the world, don't forget to subscribe. Because great parenting isn't about controlling every moment. It's about creating the conditions for your child to discover what they're truly capable of becoming. And sometimes, the most powerful parenting tool in the world is a 3-second pause.